So good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Today I would like to start a few shiurim on the inner significance of Purim based on the writings of the Maharal and the Dessler. When I explain the Maharal, he crystallizes in language that we can understand today what's called the Chochmah Nistara, the hidden wisdom, which is part of our oral tradition, to be preserved in the Zohar and the writings of the Arizal, a lot of it in esoteric language, referred to in the Mishnah as Maaseh Merkavah. In the Gemara it's also referred to as the Pardas, but he translates these concepts into a language which is, let's call it philosophical. It also includes the attitude of the Rambam, all of whom say that whilst in the Tanakh there are many supernatural revelations given to prophets and to others, and some of them in very cryptic language, that the Rambam also says the Agadic passages which are found in Jewish tradition, they were especially described through images, through allegories, not to be taken literally, but to try to understand them more deeply. So, if you turn also to the beginning of the Megillah, we find the name of this festival is Purim. On which account is it called Purim? And what does Purim mean? Can any of you tell me?
Lottery.
A lottery. In fact, it says in the Megillah, it says, Hipil Pur, Hua Goral. Goral means casting a lot. So we find this term Goral quite frequently. We know that, just to start with something in the spirit of Purim, on Purim it's customary not just to be funny, but to be punny, to make puns. So I'll make a pun as follows, that we find the more significant aspect of a lottery which was used to divide the land of Israel, mentioned the Chumash, but also used in the Yom Kippur service. The climax of the Yom Kippur service is casting the lots to the two goats. One is the scapegoat, and the other one is the goat that is brought into the innermost part of the temple. And the other one falls down the rocks. These are the Shtei Goralot, Hua Goral. So it says Purim, it says the Megillah itself. What's Purim? It's the Goral. So we see there's a connection. If it's the Goral in the Chumash is Yom Kippur. And that's why we say Yom Kippur is only like Purim. Purim is really the deep interpretation of the way of Hashem. And Yom Kippur is when Am Yisrael go the wrong way, then we need Yom Kippur to atone for our sins. In other words, there's fasting, there's feasting, and Hashem wants us to feast, not to fast. But sometimes because we go the wrong way, in order to put our path right, so we have to fast. So this is some of the mnemonics, we can say, of the deeper significance of Purim. The Arizal also says the same principle as being the secret of Purim. He says it's because it's Kippurim. Yom Kippur is only like Purim. And I think I've applied this sometimes when you speak to people who are distant from celebrations. They don't even know what they mean. So since Yom Kippur is the day of God, and the day which many people live all around the year like non-Jews, but in Yom Kippur they start dressing themselves as Jews. They come to the synagogue in Shabbos garments, even though you don't see them using them on Shabbos. They will call them Yom Kippur garments. They come like that, and the rest of the you don't see them. So we tell them, don't think that Judaism, Jewish way of life, means only fasting and praying. No, the pole of Judaism, Jewish life, is really Purim, and Yom Kippur is only like Purim. So we've got to know the two poles of life, and also two poles in the Hebrew calendar. A very famous statement of Rav Hirsch, he said in German, I'll say it in English, because he lived at a time in a Christian society, so he said the catechism of the Jew is the calendar. If you know what a catechism is, it's Christianity. But for us it's the Jewish calendar. So that is the concept of Purim. Now, I would recommend anyone who knows Hebrew, you can have the Hebrew text of this brilliant talk, very deep talk, of I would say the deepest interpreter of the inner concepts of Torah life, crystallizing all the traditions that we have, the more open ones and the more mysterious ones, the mystical ones. So Rav Dessler says like this. This year, if you know, it's called his essay gave on Purim, nearly all his essays are really just transcriptions of his talks, because he wrote down mainly notes for himself. But the disciple, I know when I listened to general's talk on Gateshead, was given at the end of the Shabbos. Some went over time, and then straight after the Shabbos, I wrote down a few of them. Some have been published also. This one was given here in Bnei Brak when it was in Mashgiach, Aponovich Yeshiva. So let's go and think the calendar this year. This year we have Tanit Esther on Thursday, fast of Esther. The Shabbos is not just an ordinary Shabbos, it's called Parshat Zachor. The Parsha concerning, remember what Amalek did for you. As an aside, for those people who are not so familiar with inner aspects of Torah, I'd like to mention a comment on one of the. I would not say that he is not a Torah scholar, but he's well known today as one of the recent great Jewish teachers of Jewish philosophy. He wrote many books on Jewish philosophy. It's called Fachenheim, and he didn't know so much Torah, but he wrote a whole book, in fact, on the concept that we need not 613 mitzvot, we need 614 mitzvot. What the 614 mitzvot is never to forget the Holocaust and the lessons we have to learn from the Holocaust. So I think I wrote it back at the time to him, or I got one of the students to write to him and say, yes, you know, that did give deep philosophical descriptions according to the tradition of Jewish philosophy, but didn't know enough about Torah. So I said, look, what is Zachor, et asher aseh lecha Amalek? These mitzvot were given because the truth is, you can only understand the mitzvah more completely after the Holocaust, because it's all about the Holocaust. Mitzvah. Just like Megillat Esther is all about the Holocaust. It's not just, it's a book. We should know the books which are written Ruach HaKodesh, they're prophetic. And there are things in Megillat Esther which you can't really understand unless you know the history of the Holocaust. I mean, I've mentioned already, but I mentioned by the side, that it's been widely distributed, that the 10 sons of Haman are the 10 Nazi criminals who were hanged on one day, and is mentioned in the hints given in the text of Megillat Esther. Because the Megillat Esther is a hidden Megillah. It's the hidden miracles of God in the time when the Jewish people have a threat against them to destroy every member of the Jewish people, which was expressed clearly only in the Megillat Esther. And unfortunately, they were successful with a third of our nation. So, and to some extent we can say with 2/3 of our nation. Because Lashmit, Larog, Abed, which is mentioned in Megillah in chapter 7, verse 4, that Esther says to the king that if they hear the hostility of the Persian Empire against the Jews have different religion, and they're going to take over the nation, therefore we have to make them into slaves, they should work for us. If that would have been the decree, I wouldn't have to make such a plea against you. But since the decree is not that you're going to be slaves, the decree is Lashmid Larogol Abed, which means to take away their culture and religion, to remove that, destroy that, all their different ideas and so on, how we should live and what we should think, what we should believe. We've got Shmat, we've got to make Shmat to destroy all this anti-materialistic culture. And if it were, and then the decree has been Lahashmid Larot, to kill them all, so young and old, every one of them, could be found in the empire and beyond. And he wanted to do it on one day. What's Al-Abed mean? To burn them up. If you strip it, and to burn them up as well. That was the decree. And that decree was repeated literally in the manifesto of anti-Semitism pronounced from Berlin. And in fact, the one who was particular about this text and he knew it was not Hitler. He didn't know the Bible so well. But the Mufti of Jerusalem knew the Bible well and distorted it as much as he could. And on the basis of that, he before Hitler came to power, already 4 or 5 years before, he already made a massacre of Jews, a massacre of a holy Sheba when they were learning. Near the holy Sheba disappeared, that's Hebron. Why is it called Hebron? Because originally they were in Hebron. Then they had to move to Jerusalem because that's what happened. And he made a massacre to Jerusalem before Hitler. And then when Hitler started, he moved to Berlin and joined him. So now let's see, I'm good. So therefore this year we have Tanit Esther. And then on Shabbos will be Parshat Zachor. It's a special Shabbos, where we in addition to the Sefer Torah, the Parsha of the week, we take out the Sefer Torah, which contains this commandment. So now, if those of you who can follow in the Hebrew, I'm just going to say it in only the Pesukim I will say in Hebrew. We've been commanded in Devarim, Deuteronomy, chapter 25, verse 19. Timche et zeicha Amalek. Hashem says, remember what Amalek did for you when you were moving out from Egypt and you were journeying in the desert. What did he do? You've got to remember what he did to you. And therefore you've got to destroy the memory of Amalek. Now, it's important, Zeich Amalek. So I just want to go to this word Zeich Amalek, which is very important. The truth is that the divisions of the nations, of the world, is given in the chapter which also brings first the deluge, and then afterwards the different nations of the world that were born from Noach and his descendants, and how they divided into different nations. And there are 70 names of the different nations given. It's very interesting that although some of the critics in early times, 100 years ago, they said that who knows this is such a correct division of the nations. So I've got from Professor Albright, who is the greatest non-Jewish biblical scholar in recent times, and he says they've all been identified. And it's amazing how correct this is. But how are the nations divided? They're not divided into races. The racist theory is, goes on until today, you know that mankind divided in Aryans and Semitic people, different races. But we say the truth is all nations come from one source. Originally from Adam, and afterwards from Noah. But the divisions of the nations which are described, they're described according to 4 basic trends. One of them is ethnic. In other words, families developed into larger groups. And then the groups, they had a common place where they lived. But in some of the groups, they split up into other lands. They had one land where the majority went, and others, different groups, split off, ultimately the majority, and went to different countries. So they would have geographical distinctions. And then we have intermarrying also of the different groups in the different countries where they were dispersed. And then we have different religions which were accepted that also made a distinction into national groups. There was a major religion, but of course many intermingled with other religions. And then the other one is their languages. Their languages, originally they spoke one language in a certain group, went to different countries and different language, intermingling of languages. So therefore these 4 elements are described exactly as the 4 elements which brought a distinction of about 70 nations. But what happened? There's a certain amount of ethnic connections still left. They carried on for a few generations, but when there was the huge Assyrian Empire established by the head Assyrian king, especially Sanherib, Sennacherib, which is called. So what his policy was, in order that all these nations that he conquered should not make a rebellion against him, he believed in transposition of national groups. In order that there shouldn't be a certain national group that would threaten him. See, that was his policy. He made deliberate policy. For example, he managed to conquer the 10 tribes of Israel. What did he do with them? He didn't go and take all the captives that he had and banish them from the northern kingdom and move them to the head capital of Assyria. No, didn't want that. He went against that policy. But he was afraid, maybe, who knows, certain time they might join our enemies, like Pharaoh was afraid also of his slaves that he had, the Jewish Hebrew slaves. So therefore he took various captives from different parts of his empire and put them always in a different place. And that's how it happens. That we've got lost 10 tribes scattered all over the world. You'll find remnants that people seem to keep to certain customs that really go back to keeping the Torah. And they keep certain customs in different places of the world, even as far as Peru, and as far as that came a bit later on, but still it was a further development of the same principle, and as far as certainly in all areas of Asia and many areas of Africa. So this is the lost 10 tribes. Therefore, the laws of the Torah concerning the Egyptian, the Ammonite, the Moabite, and the Amalek, they're no longer separate identity. Therefore, there's no Amalek left. Also not. You can't speak of and identify pizza. Some people say every German is Amalek. And there you find every Muslim is an Amalek. You can't say such things. So it's a false matter. But it's Zeicha Amalek. Zeicha Amalek, this idea to rebel against the God of Israel, when he's shown such enormous miracles that all the 32 kings of Canaan, they were terrified by what had happened through this God of the people of Israel. And also the Egyptian Empire, which is the largest empire of the time, it collapsed because of his miracles. So even this, she was a low woman, so it would appear. She lived in the walls of Jericho. She said, we're all terrified, what's going to happen? And she changed. She became, afterwards she married one of the Hebrews. She became a righteous woman. And but that's illustrated in the Torah. But the Zeicha Amalek that remained. Doesn't matter whether it's Zeicha Amalek came true. Hitler was Zeicha Amalek. He follows exactly the same concept of strong opposition to the divine image of human being, recognizing only physical power as being the God of mankind. That's what the physical power. And therefore Amalek comes in always to try to demonstrate that might is right and not vice versa. And that's the only thing that will decide what we should do and whom we should destroy. Those who believe in morality should be destroyed. Those who believe in spirituality, they should be destroyed. So, so then it says, the question is nevertheless, why does Hashem command for the ancient peoples, even in ancient times, that Amalek has to be destroyed, and we don't find this with any other nation? That's one question. The second question, why is the 14th of Adar called Purim on account of Pur? Some say Pur is a Hebrew word, some say it's a Persian word, but it's a Goral. Everyone agrees it's a Goral, it means a lottery, like you said. The fact of this lottery turned out, he cast lots, and they came up 14, is that so important? Is that the message of Purim, that day? We don't understand. Why is this, which seems to be a triviality, so important in describing the miracle? Because not just at the beginning of the Megillah it says it's called Purim. It's called Purim, then afterwards, in the latter chapters, where it describes how this day should be separated, it's always called Purim. So what happens if Haman would have fixed the same one day to destroy the whole of the Jewish people, if he wouldn't have done it with the lottery? The miracle was just as great, that there was a plan to destroy every Jew, and one day it was turned over. But still, what's got to do with the lottery? He may have decided for his own reasons, maybe he should have chosen the day of their God that they were worshipping in Persia. Why did you do this? That is a bit of a question. Have you heard an answer on it?
Yeah, it gave us time to do tshuva. We needed a certain amount of time.
But why was it important you should do it through a Goral, through casting lots? If he would have said, he would announce to Ahasuerus, this people, as he does afterwards, he announces this is the one people that is in danger of destroying the whole Persian Empire. That's what he said. Therefore it's important to destroy them all. He said, I'm going to give you a lot of, he was very rich, Haman. Haman said to the emperor, he said, listen, I'm giving you a large amount of money to allow me to do this, destroy this with this dangerous element within your empire. And if you would have fixed the date, not through lots, would have said, let's do it, it would perhaps even be better from a point of view of imperial policy, let's do it on the day of your coronation, or do it on the annual celebration in honor of the Persian god, Zoroaster, whichever beliefs he had at the time. Let's do it on that day, because it will be more effective. I'll be able to get more people to join in. If it's coronation of the king, let's do it then, or the day of coronation. Yes, do you have an answer?
I heard from Rabbi Zevlev, he says that this is the essence of Amalek, just to show that it all is by chance. Everything is just a throw of dice. There's no God, there's no reason, or something like that. If I remember correctly.
So one explanation we've heard now is he wanted to do it in this way, to say, as it says in the parsha of in this same parsha, it's few words at the beginning, at the end of Parsha Kitetse, which we're going to read on Shabbos in a week. It says Asher Korach Baderach. It says Korach also comes from the expression Keri. Keri means that which happens by chance. Things that happen by chance, and it's mentioned in the Chumash in a negative fashion. Things that happen by chance are not planned, but they come by chance. So Hashem says in his rebuke to the people of Israel, when we do not keep the Torah, halachtem imi b'keri, instead of thinking that what happens in the world is an act of divine providence, even if it's negative, God is behind it for a certain reason, and will produce something good, because God means leading things to good, and often we can only achieve the good by destroying the evil. Somebody has to do it. So as Hashem says, if your attitude to what goes on in the world is just a chance happening, and therefore you don't have to take notice of it, like some people say there's an earthquake or a tsunami, it just happens by chance, and if it hits, if what happens is people of Israel, it's the bombs kill Jews, it's by chance, they kill Gentiles, it's by chance, and also what happens in the extreme Islam world is all a question of chance development. The only way you can understand history is just certain acts that take place without any reason, they're just happenings. And even the existence of the world is just a happening, it doesn't have a significance. There's a happening. You ask me why it happens, then you just can't ask why, but the whole world is based on chance. And therefore you can't say there's a purpose in the world or a purpose in anybody's life. There's no such thing as purpose. It's all chance happenings. So, if that's your attitude to life, that's the exact opposite of what we say. We say there's nothing by chance. Everything happens through a plan. There's a purpose in life. It's very interesting that today there are lots of developments, even on a so-called scientific level, a pseudo-scientific level, but still it's developed to a great extent. Is how to understand the laws of nature. So there is a random element in the laws of nature. And what do we call a law? A law, if let's say in 1,000 times, if something happens once in 1,000 times, but all the other 990 times it happens in regular fashion, that becomes the law of nature. But you can't say a law of nature as such, there's no random element. And the big scientists, they say that there's laws of statistics, but you make statistics, but in statistics there's also a principle. In some areas you go posarov, up to the majority. In some elements, even they might be ruba de ruba, that means a very huge majority. When you go into analysis of, in a microscopic fashion, what happens with the basic poles of energy, certainly the poles of energy, there are many laws, and he kept to the laws, but there's a random element as well. And therefore they say today most natural laws are really laws of high probability. But you can't say that they're absolutely always the same. So that has something to do with what we discussed in the other shir concerning even time. In other words, they've even found that in time. In other words, we know there's irregularity in the strong movements of the planets and the comets. Also, there's certain cycles. And these cycles, you can say there's certain rules of nature, but there can be the random element, which you've also got to take into consideration. And therefore the new way of describing a real law of nature is that it happens in the vast majority of cases. It means that let's just say the idea of chance is there's one of the best works on this. There's a work appeared a few years ago by Pierre Denoy, a very great expert on the Greek, which was a great expert in the laws of chance. And therefore he followed the evolutionary concept that it can happen by chance, that an amoeba can go and grow to become a source of a certain cell, and that cell can reach a higher level and even create something that will have the aspect of mineral growth. And from mineral to go to the animal world, from one animal to the next animal. And you say what can't happen, we've never seen in the laboratory, but what do they say? But through millions of years, you can have such a development. One of the concepts developed by the evolutionists is, if you can't see it happen in your objective observation of science as it is today, and also of the natural elements that you see today, you can't observe a changeover from one species to the next, but in in a space of, let's say, 100 million years, there can be such a change by chance. They've been made charts how one species goes to the next species. These were those who popularized evolution. On the other hand, this Pierre Dunoy, he was a great expert in laws of chance. He was also a great biologist at a very high level. He was an evolutionist biologist. So therefore there's no purpose. There's just everything in the world grows further and further. Therefore there's also no real purposeful design for the human brain and the human sight and things like that. Because in the course of millions of years it can change. I tell you, Darwin, who was really the proponent of this idea, that through the struggle for existence and the question of chance changes, if it can't be changed under the laboratory, and it can't be changed at all in the nature as we observe it, but we get changed in the course of millions of years, and therefore the world must be, so to say, billions of years old, because the only way you can describe this. This mentions the Gemara, this concept that he wants to say something false. Yarchik edul Torah. He should give his testimony as having happened over a long period of time that you can't really examine. And therefore he gives testimony, but the basis of it can be falsehood. You can deceive people. And therefore he came out with called the human destiny. He says, without the concept of human destiny as being the ultimate purpose of the world, and there's a great purpose, you can't explain it by the laws of chance, because the laws of chance are limited. There is a random element, but it goes against the laws of chance where you say that it can't happen. Unless the purposeful designer. Anyway, I'm going off into a tangent. But the concept of, this is one of the concepts of Amalek. Amalek says that everything is chance. Because once you say it's purpose, there must be designer. If there's any purpose in things, it proves the designer. So, anyway, I'll go here back to the text. Why is this so important? Why do we say the word Purim includes the basic essence of this festival? And that's one of the very good answers that he gave. But I'll go now to a deeper aspect. The advantage of taking, even rather, taking the analysis of the Maharal in similar lines, but Rav Dessler is also very good because it's not just, he was mashgiach, and he recognized the importance of the personal lesson for those who are learning Torah, to help the basic concepts of the Torah. The Maharal is tops the tops, but to explain them in terms how they can apply to us in our own behavior. I think to connect the two, which is really, the Torah says, the most important thing is change from your evil characteristics to live a life following only your good characteristics. So he said like this in any case, the second paragraph. There are two types of wicked people. There are wicked people who are openly wicked, and some who are hidden wicked people. Similarly also with saints. Some are open saints, some are hidden saints. There are some hidden wicked people, and the truth is, no one in this world, not even the prophets, not even the sages, not even the angels, know about their wickedness. Only God Himself. Because it says like this, Ovadia, the prophet Ovadia, is a prophecy, it's a separate book of one chapter, amongst what are called the 12 smaller prophets. They're smaller because they were lesser in importance. They're smaller because what is recorded from their prophecy is smaller. And the smallest one is Ovadia. And Ovadia actually was himself, he came from Edom, he became a Getzedek, became a righteous prophet. Some say it's the same Ovadia mentioned in the Book of Kings. Anyway, this Ovadia, he says, Eich nechbesu Esav niv'u matzponav. how Esau is uncovered, and his secret plans and plots are now coming forward. And Matzpon means that which is hidden. It's hidden even from the prophets. And only God himself knows what is in the heart of man. Ki Hashem yireh ladavar. Hashem, God, he looks at the heart. And people even can't look at their own heart deeply enough. And certainly not other people's hearts. And even the angels do not know what's really deep in the heart of a person. So these wicked people, they're called Esau. And ultimately, Matzpunav, their hidden intentions, will become revealed. So the Midrash says, and I think this is also hinted at in many verses in the Tanakh and the Bible, that Esau is compared to the swine, and the swine has split hooves are split. So it says, I am one of the pure animals. It's well known. The chazir, it doesn't chew the cud. A kosher animal is one that chews the cud and has split hooves. So it shows that it's, look, I'm kosher. And you call the chazir fisa, the feet of the chazir. So he says, and this is symbolically a reference to the way of Esau. So the open wicked person is not as dangerous as a secret wicked person. And that's one of the reasons why we know that Jewish people in ancient times, we did not have a duty to the people that of Canaan, who were known to be very wicked. They worshipped idols openly. They committed immorality, all types of perversions openly, and they killed people openly. These are the 7 nations. Nevertheless, the law was, when Yeshua was asked to start the conquest, he broadcast a message, any of the nation, this nation has been promised to our people, that we should build it up here. If any of you want to move, please move from this land. You will give you every ability to find another place. And the truth is, the Girgashi, one of the 7 nations, is mentioned as being one of the 7 nations who are far stronger than any army of the people of Israel. And they went to Africa. So I'll tell you the episode that happened to me. I went to some lectures on biblical archaeology. And we came across a Phoenician inscription, it's a set of ancient inscriptions, and written in ancient Hebrew, in Phoenicia, where it says more or less, I'm Gergashi, and fled from Canaan. And the lecturer didn't. So I told him, yeah, the sages said that's what happened to him. This lecturer, he was the biggest expert in archaeology in university, and so I showed him this statement of the sages. Because today, the truth of the Bible comes out non-stop from archaeological discoveries. The only threat we have at present, terrible threat, that you know what Dessler doing, apart from murdering in the most cruel manner, they're also destroying any archaeological evidence, especially anything that's got anything to do with what's written in the Bible. where there's an ancient tradition that Yonah is buried someplace in Iraq. So when Desh got hold of it, whichever group it was, whether they were Persians or the Muslims, they held the ancient sites with respect. When they came, they demolished all the ancient sites. If they find anything of value, they don't demolish it. Because one of the major sources that have enormous wealth, Daesh, unfortunately, you know where they get it from? They go, everywhere they go, they rob antiquities, and then they sell them through the black market. And they come out in different auctions all over the world, cheap prices. Those that are preserved, some they wouldn't be destroyed. Just like here on the Harabais, under our peace partners, so-called. So the Waqf, they've got authority over the Harabait. So what do? They try their very best to destroy any evidence that Jews were ever there. So, even the United Nations, they came up with a vote or something, some of them, that the Jews have nothing to do with the Temple Mount. Yeah? Nothing to do, never happened. And that's practically they're trying to do it. And the Jewish archaeologists, what they have to do, there's a huge rubble place which the Israeli government could take control of. They have a lot of people working in that rubble, and amongst that rubble there's something to find. They found recently some record from the time of the first temple. But if they're not careful, from that rubble they'll take it well buried somewhere far away. So, but also that's what's happening these days. So Gavushi left, even though they were these Canaanites, they were murderous and very lustful, corrupted people. But the Torah doesn't say that they were given a choice. It's all it said. If you want to keep the Noachide code, then certainly you can stay in the country. We'll treat you like it says in the Torah. Those who keep the Noachide code, they're what's called Toshav Araim, Toshav. You can be part of the country. And only those who oppose us, and they want to continue their corrupt methods, you have to leave. But Amalek, you have to destroy their Zeicha entirely from the land. Why? Because Amalek was the son of Avraham Avinu and Yitzchak. And Amalek, he was to some extent like a person who was upright. Like we find Eliphaz. Eliphaz, who was son of Esau, and he was the father of Amalek. So when Yaakov had to run away from his homeland, it wasn't his home, it wasn't his land yet, but from his home, so Yitzchak and Rivka said, you better go to Choron, because after all your brother wants to kill you. So he fled, and Esau said, well, I'm not going to kill him whilst my father's alive, because he was greatly killed over him. But he did tell Eliphaz that you should go and take all the possessions that Yaakov took with him. And so therefore Yaakov was dead penniless. But he was still alive. He was able to get to Choron, and then he had to work for it to get his sustenance by Lovan. So nevertheless, despite this more lenient attitude, nevertheless, Yor al Keis Kah, Ein Akisa Shalem. Now if you look in Shemot chapter 17, where there's the first description of Amalek, what he did. Verse 15 it says, Yod al Keis Kol. The hand of Hashem is on the seat of God. And Keis is short for Kisei. Kisei is a seat. Keis, it's a short seat, not full yet. And it says Al Keis Kol Yud Kei. Yud Kei is a short name for Yud Kei Vav Kei. So it says the throne of God, that means the way in which He leads the world, and the name of God which expresses loving kindness. So we will not have a revelation of the full loving kindness of God and His influence on the world for good as long as Amalek is in the world. That means like this. Today, I mean, what do people, makes life difficult for people? It's difficult for many people to believe in a God of love. If we say that God leads the world, so people will ask the question, where's the love of God when we see innocent people being victimized in such a fashion as today, and see the movement of hate is growing? Where's the love of God? So, it's because of Amalek. So we have to understand what's Amalek based on. As long as Amalek is in the world, that means the spiritual power of the people of Israel will not be fulfilled as long as the power of Amalek is still strong and we don't find the revelation of the great honor of God shown in the world. Because Amalek denies Him entirely, and we have to destroy him entirely. So, it's a simple word that means, as long as the conscience, which Amalek wants to destroy, but Elohim, is not strong amongst the people of Israel, then it also won't be so strong enough amongst the nations of the world. So each one of us, we have to work hard as an individual matter, but the conscience should lead our words, our deeds, and even our thoughts, rather than the powers that oppose the conscience and think my own ease, my own materialism is more important. So I think this is just an introduction to try to understand this concept, how it applies also to our lives. Please, any questions? If you can ask them at the beginning of the shir tomorrow, or in the course of the shir.